Hi there. This is Jean Roman with For Dragonflies and Me. Thank you so much for joining me at this week's podcast. As always, I'm super excited to be sharing gardening, cooking, organizational tips and tricks, discussions on healthy lifestyles, and of course, having conversations with incredible entrepreneurs. Each week, I love to start out with how I met my guest, and today is no different. I've actually had the pleasure to work with this lady on and off for the last decade or so as both a speaker for the organization she runs at their annual conference. I've been invited to sit on a Census of Michigan Farmers Market Committee, and I've personally attended the organization's annual conference multiple times as both a farmers market vendor and farmers market manager. I also received my market manager certification through this organization. So during the month of May, I generally, as you guys all know, like to kind of have a focus each month, and May is on focusing on local food and how to source it, along with talking to professionals in the industry who fight the good fight, advocating for fair food. I couldn't think of a better organization to include than MIFMA, which stands for Michigan Farmers Market Association, and its wonderful director, Amanda Shreve. So a little bit about Amanda. Amanda has been a part of MIFMA, the MIFMA team, since November of 2009. So she's committed, folks. She says, I am passionate about connecting the public with agriculture and growing awareness of what it takes to produce our food supply in a safe, equitable, and environmentally sustainable way. I recognize that farmers markets are a very visible and tangible way to establish, maintain, and grow this connection. Amanda obtained her Bachelor of Science in Horticulture from Michigan State University, Go Sparties. She enjoys floral design and spending time with her husband and two dogs. And you may get to see Arrow in some of this episode. So Arrow is there, and you all know we love Frankie Friday. So Arrow is more than welcome to join us here as well. So now, without further ado, please help me welcome Amanda Shreve, Executive Director for MIFMA. Welcome, Amanda.
Thanks so much for having me, Jean.
It's my pleasure, honestly. Well, thanks so much for being here and taking the time to chat with me and my listeners about a topic you and I are both extremely passionate about: food and access to it. So Amanda, I'm super excited again to have you here today, chatting it up about farmers markets and what exactly it is the Michigan Farmers Market Association does. So, but first, can you tell my listeners a bit about you and how you came to be with MIFMA?
Happy to. I grew up in the small town of Marshall, Michigan, which is right where 69 and 94 meet in Michigan, near Battle Creek. It's a small rural community. Seems to be growing in size as of late, but when I grew up, still very agricultural based. I grew up participating in 4-H and FFA. And so agriculture was always around me and part of my interests. When I was graduating from high school, I knew I wanted to do something related to agriculture for a career. I had tons of experience with MSU through 4-H and FFA and other programs that we had attended there, and it felt like a second home to me. So it was natural that I go up to East Lansing and pursue a degree from Michigan State. When I was preparing to graduate from Michigan State, I also spent a summer distributing Senior Project Fresh coupons in Calhoun County, and was introduced to the intersection between food access and food through farmers markets. And when the summer after I graduated from Michigan State, I served in an AmeriCorps position with the horticultural agent for MSU Extension in Washtenaw County, and ran a Wayne County, and ran a junior master gardener program for them. So it was an exciting way to spend my summer. And managed the 4-H children's garden at the Wayne Risa building, which I very much enjoyed, but was very frustrated that a woodchuck and her family basically ate everything we produced that summer.
Yeah.
So it happens.
It does.
And so when I saw a position opened at the Farmers Market Association, at the time, the organization was looking for someone with experience with farmers markets and food access programs. And surprisingly, I had both of those experiences. I was, passionate about agriculture and saw farmers markets, as you had already mentioned, as a very tangible way that the general public intersects with farmers, in a way that has become more niche in our society today, and not a general experience that folks have every single day, or that farming isn't embedded in their families the way it used to be. And so farmers markets have always really held a special place in my heart as a way to connect with the general public with agriculture. And then my experience with the Senior Project Fresh program, and recognizing that farmers markets were more than just a place for producers to sell what they had grown, but they were also this really important community place, a place for entrepreneurship and small businesses to thrive, a place for community and social interactions, a place for health where people could come to get fresh fruits and vegetables, and a place where everyone was welcome, and they were inclusive spaces where no matter what currency you were shopping with, no matter how you were purchasing food for your family, you could come and access fresh fruits and vegetables and other foods from the market. So that really got me passionate about working for the Farmers Market Association, and I've been there ever since.
Oh my
As you
gosh. Well,
mentioned, now
you've been there as long as I've known, and I have always appreciated, your passion that you just exude, during the conferences, and your passion is clear, and that's why I thought, oh, I had to have you. I was so excited when you agreed to be a podcast. So, well, Amanda, as you know, I have been involved with MIFMA as a farmers market manager vendor for my farmers markets that I manage. My farm was a member. I've been a speaker. I've been an attendee to the organization's annual conference. And I would love for you to give my listeners some background information on the organization and how and why it came to be.
absolutely, I can do that. I've been with the organization coming up on 14 years, and I do possess a lot of that historical knowledge.
You're the
For better
go-to
or for worse,
girl.
it's all here. So MIFMA really got its start back in 2005. There were two researchers at Michigan State who were doing research around farmers markets, and that had them interacting with a lot of market managers and supporters of farmers markets all across the state. And what they were hearing was that was a real call for a central resource, a place where market managers and others could go to get technical assistance, training, education, access resources, everything around farmers markets, one place where they could go for all of that. And so the researchers helped write a grant to Project for Public Spaces, and they recruited the Michigan, at the time it was Michigan Integrated Food and Farming Systems. They've now streamlined their name to Michigan Food and Farming Systems, or MIFS. And that nonprofit association submitted the grant to start a statewide farmers market association, which formally launched in 2006 under the leadership of our founding executive director, Drew Montry.
I remember her. She was great.
Certainly owe, yes, a lot of MIFMA's history, and reputation, and past accomplishments too. So certainly want to give recognition where that's due. So Drew really helped guide the association and coming into be. She conducted a year's worth of listening sessions around the state, really hearing from the community, the farmers market community, what was needed and what was wanted. And out of that came the Michigan Farmers Market Association. And that work was all happening during a time in our state where we were seeing exponential growth in the number of farmers markets. Mm-hmm. We know that there were about 90 farmers markets in 2001. And nowadays we have around 300 community-based farmers markets in the state. So yeah. MIFMA really got its start while that exponential growth was happening. Mm-hmm. And we just refreshed our mission statement last year, and we're excited to share that now our mission places equity at the forefront of supporting the viability of community-driven marketplaces so that they can connect all consumers to local farms and businesses. So we're expanding our definition of the marketplaces that we support to definitely still include farmers markets, but also to include a growing number of really innovative models to connect producers directly to consumers, whether that be CSAs or global markets or so many different ways now. And we're really recognizing that they all have value in meeting people where they're at and getting fresh food access into the communities that need it most in whatever format that takes place.
I was gonna, when you said that, when as soon as you said CSAs, I'm like, oh, so like CSAs, and so like probably farm stands too, and people, a lot of oh my gosh, like farm stands that are on the farm for people to stop.
Yes, on-farm stands or on-farm markets that represent a single business are absolutely essential to connecting producers to consumers as well, and often include an agritourism or educational component.
Agritourism. I was trying to, the word was escaping me, so thank you. That's awesome. But yeah, please carry on.
Well, we are now considered one of the premier statewide farmers market associations in the country and are nationally recognized for the way that we support farmers markets and particularly our food access work. I'm very happy to lead our 9-member staff and support the work of our 11-member board of directors and represent more than 600 members across the state. That's really awesome. Who we are.
That is awesome. And, you know, you think about the growth that, you know, over time. And I was thinking about Drew when I was reaching out to you. I was like, oh, I wonder, because her and her husband actually had their own farm. And what did she end up, where did she end up going off to? Was it to farm? Or do you not know?
Her husband, Adam, was very excited to become a full-time farmer shortly before Drew left our organization. So congratulations to Adam. And he's certainly doing a lot of innovative things. He and Drew and their entire family doing a lot of innovative things out of the 10 Hens farm in Bath, Michigan. We certainly look to them for examples of very viable small farms. And so we're pleased to still have that connection. And Drew, really, there is no limit for what Drew is capable of. And she is now working for Feeding America and really supporting food hubs across the region and nationally.
That is awesome. I'm taking a couple notes. I was actually thinking about reaching out to her, and I wanted to talk to you first, though, to see if, you know, is she still involved. I kind of figured she was, because I remember remember Adam was actually one of the instructors at one of the farmers conference topics, because if for those that have never been or don't know about what MIFMA, the conference is, there are usually, and I'm assuming this is still the same, 2 types of sessions, one for farmers market managers and one for farmers and growers, which is wonderful. You know, it really has always been geared toward the full circle. It is truly a full circle, in my opinion. Yeah. But
Absolutely. It's really important.
Yeah, absolutely, because they go hand in hand, right? But you know, MIFMA also has its hands deep into advocacy and legislation as well. And so that is one thing where you guys really have taken a strong lead in fighting for farmers and farmers markets. So can you go into a little bit of detail as to what policies MIFMA has helped initiate and the reasons behind them? And if you want to share anything coming up, that'd be great too.
Absolutely. It's been part of our vision that farmers markets and the farmers and vendors that sell at farmers markets receive policy support at a statewide or at a local level, at a statewide level, and a national level. So we advocate for policies that support community-driven marketplaces to increase awareness and consumption of the state's diverse agricultural products and ensure equitable access to fresh, nutritious, and local foods. So we're looking at policies that support and don't prohibit the work that farmers markets and direct marketing farmers do. So to guide our work in the advocacy space each year, we have an advocacy committee that meets monthly. The committee is made up of board and staff and also members at large and partners that we work with in the advocacy space. And they really each year create a framework for us for our advocacy work. They examine and suggest policy priorities that we should be focused on at both the state and national level. We present those priorities to our members each year at our annual conference through our annual meeting. The members are able to give feedback throughout the process of determining our policy priorities, and then they have the final say. They have the vote on what our policy priorities should be for the year. And so it's very important to us that we have that member engagement throughout the process. Some of our past policy accomplishments include advocating for the cottage food law here in Michigan, which allows small producers to create non-potentially hazardous food items in their home kitchen without a license from the Department of Agriculture, and to sell those products directly to consumers. And we see the cottage food law as a great opportunity for small businesses to get started, to test out new products, to test out markets, to test out packaging and recipes, and to really determine what's going to make a viable business for them. And then we hope that as they get their feet underneath themselves as cottage food producers, they're able to elevate their business into a licensed format and continue to grow from there. We also consider wine sales at farmers markets, another one of our past policy accomplishments. Back in 2012, we worked with then Senator Jeff Hansen to create a licensing pathway for Michigan's growing wine industry to be able to come to farmers markets and sample and sell their wine, hard cider and mead directly to consumers. And that's really added atmosphere and a special experience at farmers markets, and also really helped create visibility for small wineries to then meet new customers and entice them to come back to their own sampling rooms and wineries and have an experience on site there. And last but not least, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our work around ensuring that there was access to the devices that farmers and markets need to accept SNAP benefits, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Some of your listeners might remember the program as food stamps in the past, when the program switched from a paper format into an electronic card, a debit-like card, changed names to the SNAP program. So that's the program we're talking about here. And when it made that switch to an electronic debit card format, it then required that any retailer who was accepting SNAP benefits in payment for food had to have a device to be able to read those cards and complete that transaction. And we feel like it's really important that farmers and markets have access to those devices at no cost to them, so that they can create that essential access point for SNAP recipients to purchase the fresh Michigan-grown healthy food that's available at markets.
Before you carry on, that was, but all three of those programs have things that I have been able to personally utilize, as well as had at my farmers markets. When my family had our farm, my daughter utilized the cottage food law, and she made dried goods at home, and she made a pancake mix and a cornmeal pancake mix, and she did her own shake and bake, and she was always great in the kitchen. And so that was an opportunity for her to, make a little extra money and to start her own little business within our farm. And so that was great. And as a farmers market manager, I have been able to, allow so many other small bakers who are just getting off their feet that, maybe don't have the type of resources that they can go to a licensed kitchen, or much less get licensed. And so I've always loved that law in the way that it really opened up the door to entrepreneurship. And, my podcast focuses so much on entrepreneurship, female entrepreneurship. And, the cottage food law really, really benefited so many people, including farmers markets, because it allowed managers to bring in more more versatile products. And it was great. I loved it. And, with regards to the food and wine sales, well, when I was the manager at Dodge Park, we were able to do that. And Michigan has so many incredible wineries. They're not just out in California. Michigan is just great for that. And so again, allowing those smaller wineries that don't necessarily have the resources that some of the huge ones do to come out and allow the public to allow themselves to be introduced to the public and like, oh, and try it out, and then they could have the sales. So again, another incredible initiative through MIFMA. Thank you for that. And then SNAP, I'm a huge advocate on everybody deserves to eat fresh local food. Kids should not only be getting Lunchables and canned pears or whatever. That's great if that's what you can do. But with the SNAP initiative, that allowed people to come to the farmers market and shop for wholesome foods. And I loved seeing those families come out. And then also with the Double Up Food Bucks program, allowing that program to double their dollars. And again, providing nutritious, wholesome food for kids and moms and families as a whole. And so, those three programs are just so crucial to farmers markets, to small businesses, and for healthy, teaching kids about healthy living. And one thing my blog I'm doing in May as well for my blogs is how to incorporate school gardens. How children are so disconnected to their food. And before I could talk about this all day. We could have a 5-hour podcast here. But I'm gonna one more thing, and I'm gonna let you carry on. But I will never forget when we were vendors at the Lapeer Farmers Market, and we really built relationships with our market friends. I never called them customers because they were more than that. They knew my name, they knew my kids, I knew them, I knew their kids and their grandkids. And this one woman came to the market every week faithfully, and she always brought her grandson because she was babysitting on that day. And it was spring, and I had fresh snap peas in the shell. And so she was like, oh, you know what? Look at, Robbie, I can't remember the kid's name anymore. This is too long ago. I'm good, but not that good. But, and he's like, those aren't peas. Peas come in a can. It was heartbreaking, honestly, because I really took it for granted at that point because my kids were being raised that way. And I was raised that way. My family always had a garden. And at that point, I honestly made it a mission to not just sell wholesome, healthy food to my customers, my market friends, but to educate them and to let them understand and try to be a little part of the fix of the disconnect with food. And so that's kind of my blog focus for the month of May as well. Getting kids in the garden, getting kids, school gardens initiative. So, but anyways, let's talk more about MIFMA. So what's going on in 2023?
Well, that's exactly the kind of passion that drew me to working for MIFMA. And so we definitely share that. And we also know, Jean, to your point, that when children are involved in growing fresh produce or selecting fresh produce at a farmer's market or even at a grocery store, they're more likely to eat it.
Yes,
if they have had the experience of growing it or choosing which fresh produce their family is going to enjoy. So we know ultimately that those steps are leading towards better health because they're leading towards more consumption of fruits and vegetables. So
exactly,
that is what drives us.
Yep.
But on an advocacy front, additionally, what I would add is that all of the policy accomplishments that we're able to achieve, whether it's at a statewide or national level, are almost always in coalition with others who also see the value in the initiatives that we're pushing for. So in Michigan, we work with the Healthy Kids, Healthy Michigan Coalition. And you can see by their name that they're passionate about the health of children throughout Michigan. We're very excited to be part of that coalition. And nationally, we work with the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition and the National Produce Prescription Coalition. So we really find value in coming together with other partners in the field and lifting up multiple voices and perspectives on the advocacy work that we do. And I mentioned our policy priority setting process, and we have had our annual meeting for this year, which is usually in the first week in March. And some of our policy priorities for the year ahead here in Michigan, we're focused on securing the state funding for Double Up Food Bucks program, which you mentioned, which is an incentive program that matches SNAP dollars spent at participating retailers with additional money that that folks can use to purchase more Michigan-grown fresh fruits and vegetables. Really a win-win-win for customers, farmers markets, and for farmers as it increases their sales. We're also focused on advancing produce prescription programs across the state, and we can certainly talk more about that. We're focused on making sure that the WIC and Senior Project Fresh programs remain viable, both for the audiences they serve on the food access side and also for the farmers that participate in those sales. And we are looking to make a few changes to the cottage food law to make it more accessible and more relevant into today's marketplace, incorporating things like the potential for online sales in addition to in-person sales, raising the sales cap that a cottage food business can reach before it needs to move on to a licensed level, and also providing a unique identifier number on the packaging for each of the cottage food products to protect the privacy of the cottage food producer, while at the same time retaining that traceability for the product.
That's
so
awesome.
we are looking at changes to the cottage food law. And then very similarly at the federal level, we are also advocating for produce prescription programs. And this is a Farm Bill year. So the Farm Bill is a very large piece of legislation passed every 4 to 5 years in our country that covers everything agriculture and food access. And so it's a very important piece of legislation. It's being negotiated right now. We're looking for it to be passed this year, and it will impact so many things that happen in our food system, from production to consumption. Everything along the way is impacted by the Farm Bill. And so we're certainly hoping to put our feedback into that bill as far as what we would like to see.
That's awesome. That's, you guys just keep pushing on and moving forward and, striving to help people. And that's what I love. And I've always loved about MIFMA. And that's the one thing I was always appreciative of being a part of in any capacity, even just attending the conference. You get so much out of it. But, Amanda, as a past farmer and a farmer's market manager, I feel so fortunate to know MIFMA is always in that forefront of advocating for fair food education and granting opportunities. Can you tell my customers, oh my gosh, my listeners, a little bit more about some of the programs MIFMA offers to both farmers and farmers markets?
I would be happy to. We've already mentioned a couple of times that we host an annual Michigan Farmers Market Conference, typically the first week in March, a 2-day conference where we share all of the new and exciting innovations in the farmers market field and facilitate networking between market managers and farmers and vendors and supporters of markets. So that is absolutely a core program for us. You also mentioned receiving your certification through the Market Manager Certificate Program, and we'll continue to operate that program as well, certifying market managers as professionally trained. Each year on the lawn of our state capital in Lansing, Michigan, we host 3 farmers markets on the Capitol lawn. They're really the showpiece of our advocacy efforts. They are meant to be a demonstration of all of the great work that farmers markets do all year long, all across the state. But we do it specifically on the Capitol lawn so that we are in front of state decision makers, visible to the legislator, visible to departments like the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development and Health and Human Services, and we're showing them in downtown Lansing what farmers markets are capable of. Our food access work is another cornerstone of our organization, supporting farmers and markets that accept food assistance benefits like SNAP, Double Up Food Bucks, and WIC and Senior Project Fresh, and the growing field of produce prescription programs. And then outside of those core programming, we're really still endeavoring to be that central resource for all farmers market and farming related needs. So whether it's creating resources for farmers, for markets, or for shoppers, that's our bread and butter. We are this year are operating a food safety grant program through a grant we received from the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. We're turning those grant dollars around and putting them out to farmers markets in Michigan to do food safety education on site for their shoppers. So whether that's cooking demonstrations or distribution of food safety related tools like vegetable brushes or timers or thermometers, things that you would need in the kitchen to help make sure that you're following food safety practices. We're happy to be able to support this year 15 farmers markets in Michigan to do those kinds of activities. And we do on our website have a plethora of resources, recipes, seasonal based recipes, and so much more. And then last but not least, I would certainly mention that we also work to promote farmers markets across the state. We want everyone to know where they are, when they're happening, and how they can connect with markets. And we do that primarily through the Find a Farmers Market feature on our website, which lists all of the 300 community-based farmers markets in Michigan. You can search by city, by county, by name, by day of the week. If you're looking for a farmer's market, that's the place to go, and we'll connect you to all 300 markets in Michigan.
That's awesome. And you are very, very true in what you said about your website having a plethora of information. I mean, it does. It is not just it's not just an article here or what's going on. I mean, you offer a lot of good content for both farmers market managers, and the information, and and attendees, customers. So if you have not been to the website, we will give you the links. Everything will be in the description below at this podcast, and as well as all the other forums that this will be hosted on, and we'll get to that at the end. But I want a couple more things. I was fortunate enough to be a part of one of the first classes to receive the My Market Manager certification. Can you share with my listeners who may be interested in acquiring the certification on how they would go about getting it? I'm thinking there's several managers that are hopefully listening to this, and some that may be interested in getting that certification.
We would love that. We would love to support additional market managers in becoming or receiving that certification. We started our market manager certificate program back in 2011. And since then, we've certified more than 360 market managers here in Michigan and in other Midwestern states like Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, and even one in Pennsylvania.
That's awesome.
And we really, we recognize the value of farmers market managers. They are essential to having a thriving farmers market. And we also recognize that being a market manager is a profession worthy of equitable compensation, worthy of professional development and training and support. And that is the core of the Market Manager Certificate program. So the program is held annually in January and February. It's it's meant to be a comprehensive course of what all the skills and topics we feel like market managers need to have expertise in order to really thrive in their position. So we cover topics like mission-driven market management, governance, market policies, conflict management, because unfortunately that is a part of working in farmers markets, data collection, financial management, marketing, the list goes on and on. So whatever you need to be successful in the role of managing a farmers market, we intend for the Market Manager Certificate program to meet that need and provide training and professional development in that area.
Well, it was very enlightening. I'm sure as the years have gone by, it's even better now. I actually wouldn't even mind just redoing the class. I actually have an application in for a potential position. So hopefully the next time we talk, I'll let you know. And but yeah, so I'm super excited about the opportunity. But if it's meant to be, it will be. If it's not, it's not. But over the years, I've known many farmers market vendors who have had the opportunity to participate in the farmers market at the Capitol. And I love, your thought process on that, getting those farmers and getting those vendors in front of the people who make the decisions and letting them see the value behind it. So I'm sure there are many newbie vendors who don't know anything about this fun and exciting market. Would you share a little bit of the details and the date for this year's markets?
The farmers market at Capitol events are by far some of our favorite days of the year. As MIFMA staff, we love these events, and they are loved in downtown Lansing by our legislators and their staffers in particular, by folks who work downtown. They are favorite summer Michigan festivals. So again, I'll mention they're meant to be a demonstration of the great work that farmers markets do all across. Here's Arrow.
Hello,
All across
Arrow.
the state. This year, we're holding the markets on Tuesdays in July, August, and September. So July 18th, August 15th, September 19th. Each day from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we're right on the lawn at the state capitol. We expect to have more than 60 vendors at each event from all across the state. And we will certainly showcase Michigan farmers and fresh produce, but we will also have a wide range of value-added products. We will have some cottage food vendors on site. We have even we also have food trucks.
Oh, yay.
So if you're going to come, make sure you're hungry. Make sure you join us for lunch that day, and really get the whole experience. By the time this podcast will air in May, our vendor applications will be closed for this year. We have our vendor applications open each year from April 1st to the end of April. But what I would say is if you think you might be interested in participating in a farmers market at the Capitol as a vendor, I certainly encourage you to come out to the event this year, get a sense for the setup, get a sense for the foot traffic and the atmosphere of the event, and then certainly mark your calendar for next year to come and be a part of the events and apply in the month of April. We typically see, if the weather is nice, up to 7,000 attendees
Awesome.
on a single market day. So it is definitely an experience to be had. And we encourage folks to who might be interested in becoming vendors to come get an experience as a shopper and then apply with us next year.
Well, Amanda, you're correct. This will not be airing until actually May 24th. But if you would be so kind as to send me any graphic, a link to the application, I will gladly put that on my Facebook and my Instagram prior, because I wouldn't want anybody to miss out on that, because I never got to do that as a vendor. And I was a vendor for many years. I remember when your first year was, and I always thought it was cool. I knew a bunch of vendors that did it. And as a market manager, I remember a few of my vendors saying, "Oh, no, I'm at the Capitol that day." I was like, "Okay, well, have a great time." But, during my market manager years, I have always loved participating and incorporating National Farmers Market Week special events into my markets. So for any market managers that may be listening or vendors who may not know about this, would you share a little bit of information on those details and dates for 2023?
Yes, National Farmers Market Week started really out of USDA, and as a national recognition of farmers markets, and just a week to really celebrate all of the great work that they do and the impacts they have on agriculture, on the economy, on health, on community. Really a time to come together and celebrate farmers markets. And each year, the farmers market community across the country really lifts up this week and celebrates it. So mark your calendars for August 6th through the 12th this year for National Farmers Market Week. I encourage you to visit markets that week, to share their information on your social media channels, to make a donation to your favorite farmers market or your favorite statewide farmers market association, which of course is a nonprofit that accepts donations, and to really celebrate with your food dollars that week. Invest in local foods. Hopefully you're investing all year round, but really that week, go out and enjoy farmers markets. They're in peak season in Michigan in August, and really join the celebration.
Well, that is awesome. And if I am in a position to do so this year, I will most definitely be doing that. But I'd like to touch on another topic. This is actually, quite frankly, a little somewhat frustrating. It's one of my biggest pet peeves within market management. I feel organizations, not all, but some organizations don't really take into consideration the amount of work, knowledge, and effort that goes into managing a successful market. And I do realize there's often budget constraints. A lot of times it's a DDA or a chamber, and they are running their market on vendor fees and sponsorship. So, been doing that for 15 years. I know the behind the scenes, but that doesn't negate the lack of respect I feel many organizations show to market managers where salaries are considered. So I feel there is quite a range, like a range to like zero to like, a decent range from market to market when market manager salaries are compared. So I would love to see MIFMA advocate for this issue. And can you share with me and my listeners your personal thoughts on that? And, what do you feel are some solutions to this issue?
Well, Jean, I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm glad that you brought this up. I certainly recognize that farmers markets do not just happen, especially when we see an outdoor farmers market that's under tents. We have this idea that they just pop up and then they pop down, and that they just happen, and they don't just happen. There are people working hard behind the scenes to make sure that the market happens, to make sure it's a safe and inclusive space, to make sure that it's promoted and that customers come and vendors come and that that's where they meet. And then also that they develop a robust set of programming and atmosphere around the market to really help it thrive. So markets don't just happen, and we should absolutely recognize the hard work that market managers put in. And as I mentioned earlier, we recognize market management as a profession and as something that as a role that should be, as you said, respected, equitably compensated, professionally trained, and really recognized for the role that they play. And that was really what led us to start our market manager certificate program and continue it. We also recently in 2020 did a census of Michigan farmers markets. And what we learned from that rather robust survey was that 20% of market managers in Michigan are unpaid. They are fully volunteer. They're not receiving compensation at all for the role that they play in supporting that market. And furthermore, we know that many more beyond that 20% are underpaid, are not receiving a fair wage or a living wage for the hours that they put in. And so this absolutely is an area that we feel responsible to advocate for and to move the needle on. There's more data being analyzed out of that census, and we hope to share later this year to really drive this point hard. But what we see is that at a local, state, and national level, we need to recognize the value of market managers and advance their compensation. We are also in the process of developing a market manager cost share program. This is really inspired by a program that the Community Farm Alliance in Kentucky runs and has been running for the past couple of years. And their market manager cost share program provides funding to markets to be able to pay their market manager in a cost share model. So essentially every dollar that the program gives to markets is paired with the dollar that the market fundraises and supports. And both of those dollars, or both pools of funding, go to the market manager for compensation. And programs or markets that participate in that program receive support in hiring and being a good employer of an employee. They receive support in raising the matching funds, so fund development and fundraising, and then also just general market management support and support in accepting food assistance benefits. And so we are developing a similar program here in Michigan that would provide funding for market manager compensation that the market would match. so that we're growing the capacity of the markets that would participate in a program like that to raise their own funds and support market managers long past their participation in that program. So that's under development, and we're building out what that process would look like, and then we'll turn to fundraising to support that program. And we hope that it can be impactful in shifting compensation and improving compensation for market managers moving forward, because I couldn't agree with you more that market managers deserve recognition, deserve equitable compensation, and we definitely see that as a responsibility of our statewide Farmers Market Association to advance.
Well, just another reason I love MIFMA, and I thank you very much. I've managed markets for over 15 years now, and I've helped initiate one for Dodge Park and Sterling Heights. And so there's a lot of work and I agree with you. People think that they just pop up and pop down. And it's like, a lot of people don't realize that a farmer's market may be only open May through October or June through September, but it is a year-round process because you're recruiting in the off season. And like you said, the market on the Capitol isn't until July, August, and September, but you're doing vendor applications in April. You don't wait till the day of. And so there's so much behind the scenes. There's so much preparatory. And then even after the market, and when a farmer's market does the double up food bucks, well, then there's like an accountability to associations to rectify all of that. And so there's all of that bookwork and whatnots after the fact. And so it is not just show up and pop up. So I really appreciate your thoughtfulness and your advocating for this. And I know if it's going to get done, you guys will get it done. So please, if there's anything I can do to help with any committees or anything like that, I would love to be a part of that. But we're going to wrap it up here with one more question, Amanda. So earlier you were talking about some of the programming that you did. So you mentioned that produce prescription programs are a new and emerging area. Can you tell us a little bit more about that program and how they will bring new customers to farmers markets? Yay! Because that's what we want.
Yeah, I'm excited to showcase these programs and to talk a little bit more about them. At the basis of the produce prescription programs is a partnership between a healthcare entity and food systems. And we know, hopefully your listeners have heard the term food as medicine, or the first time you hear it, I hope that it resonates with you. This mindset that what we eat, what we put into our body as food is just as important as traditional healthcare and medicine, that recognizing that the nutrition and the food that we eat has so much of an impact on our health, the health of our families, the health of our communities, and our individual health. So at the very core, produce prescription programs are really focused on that linkage between health and what we eat, health and our food systems. So these programs, the way that they work is that a healthcare entity actually identifies a target population, typically folks who are either at risk for or are managing a diet-related chronic disease like obesity, heart disease, diabetes, or more. There are plenty of conditions that lots of folks across the U.S. Are dealing with that are very much diet related and based on what we're eating. And so the healthcare professional will help to identify individuals that would really benefit from these programs, and then they prescribe fresh fruits and vegetables to that participant. And that participant is able to take that prescription to the partnering food system partner, in this case, or in many cases, farmers markets. And that prescription then becomes a mean for them, or the way in which they can purchase fresh fruits and vegetables. So, for example, the Prescription for Health program, which has been implemented in Washtenaw County since 2008, is one of the first produce prescription programs in Michigan. Their healthcare partners prescribe fresh fruits and vegetables. They take that prescription to the farmers market. They receive tokens that they can then spend with the farmers at the market on fresh fruits and vegetables. And they're more likely to do so because they've been prescribed that action by a healthcare professional. They're then learning about where the farmers market is and what's offered there. They may be being introduced to new fresh fruits and vegetables, or they may be introduced to the concept of thinking about seasonal diets and what's in season in Michigan and what can they access at that time of the year. And they're changing their diets and they're changing their behavior and their relationship around food, and they're seeing health outcomes for themselves personally. We also see from these programs reduced healthcare costs, both for individuals and families, but also for state and federally funded healthcare support systems. So there's so many benefits to this program, and that's why we're really placing an emphasis on supporting this program both at a state and national level. So you'll be hearing a lot more about food as medicine and produce prescription programs. There's enthusiasm from the White House on this topic, and we're really excited to be working to support these programs across Michigan. This year, there's anywhere between 15 and 20 produce prescription programs across the state, and we look forward to seeing more of those initiatives pop up.
That is incredible. That is so exciting. Last year was the first year that I hadn't managed a farmer's market, so I kind of feel out of the loop. And just talking to you is like, I feel like, oh, all excited again. But you think about it, how many illnesses can be treated without medicine by just a simple diet change, high blood pressure, even the diabetes that before you have to start taking insulin. I'm sorry, I'm more of a holistic person. I will always try to take a holistic approach as opposed to going to the doctor. And this is great. I mean, I think this is going to be a really, really beneficial program for so many people. And so kudos to you guys as always. But like I said, I think you and I could probably sit and talk for several hours. But I know you have other meetings and I have other things too. So, Dragonfly friends, as y'all know, I'm a huge advocate for local farmers, farmers markets, and small businesses. And if you are contemplating becoming a farmer or any type of vendor to showcase and sell your goods and services, be sure to check out MIFMA's website for a plethora of resources. And to learn more about MIFMA, you can visit my website at fordragonfliesandme.com. And of course, visit MIFMA's website at mifma.org. So, wrapping this up, thanks for joining me today. And thank you, Amanda, for sharing MIFMA's vision and mission with all of my listeners, refreshing me. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, when people love, it's like I was telling you, Walt, the market manager from Farmington, the same thing. We just could talk and talk and talk. But again, thank you. So everybody listening today, please be sure to follow MIFMA on their social media handles, which I will provide you guys in all of the platforms where you'll be able to find this. And follow me at my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com. Be sure to check my Instagram and Facebook pages out. I have so much more incredible content there, fun reels on recipes coming up, because I truly believe cooking and gardening go hand in hand. When you have a garden, you grow it, you cook it. So visit me there. And like I always say, friends, until next time, remember to eat fresh, shop local, and have a happy day. Thanks again, and see you next time.